everyone, welcome back to Apollo Art Analysis. This episode, we're going to be checking out a piece by the established AI generative artist known as KLA. This episode, we're going to be talking about the sense of surrealism, we're going to talk about the Vaporwave aesthetic, and we're also going to talk about the profound power of OpenAI's Dolly 2. So let's jump right into it. So whenever you first see this work, you're met with kind of three main subjects within this main subject container, right? It is a very unforgettable first impression. You're going to kind of pass by it. It's going to catch your eye instantly, whether it's the multiple variants of contrast, whether it's that bit of red, certainly catches the eye in that initial introduction. We see these kind of subjects set in center, right? It's not perfect center, but it is right around the central region of the spatial composition. It's going to capture our attention, no doubt, right? You have that accent, this kind of dark on light contrast within multiple variants of contrast as well. And what I mean by this, of course, we have this rather darker aesthetic within the work at hand, right? Most of this is a lot darker. So this allows multiple layers of contrast to occur here, right? We have that, like I said, dark on light contrast, but that's nested within a light on dark contrast, which is then nested within a dark on light contrast of those lighter regions of the spatial composition as well. So all in all, there's multiple layers of contrast here, but it really frames the subject quite masterfully. It draws our attention and it captures our eye with absolute ease. And so, like I said, we see these kind of three main subjects here. They appear to be these three fish swimming within an aquarium kind of monitor type of esque subject here. It is very strange, but it certainly catches the eye due to that kind of strangeness, right? And so they appear to be trapped within this monitor. It's hard to say exactly what's happening here. So with this in mind, what do you think we're looking at? Why do you think our subjects are trapped, or what do you think they're doing? All very important questions when we're looking at this work. And so there is a bit of surrealism within the work at hand. You're not going to go by a computer monitor and see some fish swimming in it, right? So with that in mind, there is this kind of absurdism or surrealism, but not in a bad way. This surrealism is exactly what feels kind of mystical of the work at hand, right? It catches our eye and it's probably going to shock the viewer as they kind of pass by. Like, oh, a fish in a monitor? How strange is that? That kind of moment of strangeness is exactly what brings the viewer in to interact with the canvas a bit deeper. So I think that's also really important to note. And so, like I said, we see these three fish here, and they, are they real? Are they fake? It's hard to say for sure. We don't see them too defined. We see more so a silhouette of them. So we see kind of these basic three forms. They do appear to be real. They seem very kind of translucent, kind of moving through that. But like I said, it is a very surreal, a very strange scene for sure, but it immerses us within that quite masterfully. And so, when we're looking at a computer like this, it obviously harks back to simulations and, of course, the internet age and the digital age as a whole, right? We see this here, whether it's these kind of simulated fish, whether they're real or fake, it's hard to say for sure, but we are in a whole new world, and that really is defined by the era of technology. So there's been a lot of technological advancements, right? But within that, there is a sense of kind of constantly moving on, and there's this sense of novelty that we wish for, and there's a sense of nostalgia from the past as well, right? When you first saw these technologies, of course, that is the novel, it is the new, but nowadays it's so integrated and kind of ingrained in our life that some people might see technology as mundane in some ways, and that is rather sad, but I think it is kind of accurate. We're so used to technology nowadays that some people just kind of overlook it or take it for granted. So I was talking to the original artist, and the artist was talking about, the nostalgia that comes from the early internet age, and this is really what is part of captured here as well. The artist was trying to experiment with this kind of aquarium type of 800T computer, but the artist also mentioned, the interest in Vaporwave comes from a lot of nostalgia as well. So this piece may not be specifically nostalgic, but within the Vaporwave aesthetic as a whole, we certainly see some of those themes. And so the Vaporwave, it almost always incorporates some type of strange surrealism, but also within the early internet as well. So we certainly see that within the work at hand. And she really was trying to do kind of a play on words here. Of course, it is entitled Aqua Tech, so we see that definitely within the work at hand. I actually have the original prompt here we're going to reference here in a second to see what really created this in OpenAI's Dolly 2. So I was able to reference the original prompt, so I have that here. So this is what was put into OpenAI's Dolly 2 to create the work before us, right? So we have, quote, a vintage computer doubles as a beautiful aquarium, cinematic neon lighting Cinestill 800T. So a vintage computer which doubles as a beautiful aquarium. We certainly see that cinematic neon lighting. We certainly see all of those elements here. And what's interesting, the AI has to interpret what we're asking, right? So doubles as a beautiful aquarium. So the kind of AI program, of course, OpenAI's Dolly 2, has to know what an aquarium is. So it kind of interprets the aquarium as something that holds the fish or a fish container. And we certainly see that within the work at hand. It takes the computer as the specified container, but it has to act as some type of beautiful aquarium. So OpenAI's interpretation, Dolly 2, very, very interesting. I was talking to KLA, and the artist said that Dolly 2 is extremely photorealistic, and I think that's really important to note. You look at something like this, and it really looks real, right? If you were to look a little bit deeper, the keys, a little bit of variation, but you look at this from a distance, you're like, oh my god, that is incredibly photorealistic. So really nice AI generative work here, and so the AI generative realm has really unlocked a whole new world of creative accessibility, right? You have people who weren't really into painting or weren't really into digital rendering, but can type really well or have a lot of kind of pop culture references that can jump into the AI world and create amazing works of art. So the AI generative world, I think it's incredibly underrated. I think it's overlooked by a lot of people, and a lot more attention needs to be spread on it. So hope y'all enjoyed today. We talked about, the Vaporwave aesthetic, OpenAI's Dolly 2. We talked about this sense of surrealism. We talked about so many different things today. Really hope y'all enjoyed. If y'all enjoyed this episode, go check out the original artist, KLA. Like I said, AI generative artists always doing some really good stuff. My name is Apollo. This was Apollo Art Analysis, and I'll see y'all on the next episode. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to support our work directly, please check out our Apollo community tokens. Apollo Art Exchange is an ecosystem of art appreciation which elevates artists each and every day. Thanks for listening.